Alright, good morning. We're going to start lesson 5 today, and now we're going to get more towards the math that you're kind of used to, where we have actually some math to do and calculators, and we're using all those things that we've learned already about order of operation and some of the properties here. Okay? And usually when we start algebra in ninth grade at the beginning of the year, and now like you guys are doing repeating, we usually start out with algebraic expressions. And really, algebraic expressions, very important. There is no equal sign in an expression. If there was an equal sign, well, then we'd call it an equation. So an expression is a mathematical phrase, meaning numbers and letters, made up of numbers and variables. And remember, variables are letters. So I'm going to put a little equal sign, letters. Sometimes they'll tell us what the variable letter is that they want us to substitute in, and sometimes we'll solve for a variable in algebra. But right now, because we're doing algebraic expressions, we probably won't end up with a letter at the end. They're going to tell us what each letter is, and so we're going to substitute that letter in. So for example, if they say A equals 3, then wherever we see an A, we're going to put a 3 instead of the A. So we're going to substitute those letters in. We put a 3 in. Okay? So when we evaluate expressions, to evaluate an expression, variable replacements, we want to substitute the variables with their given values. Now this is kind of what I would suggest you do it until you get really comfortable with math and expressions. This is kind of important right now. This might be probably the challenge that you had if you're getting some of these problems wrong. Each time you substitute with a variable with a number, put parentheses around it. Try this until you really get comfortable with it. You'll see today. Put parentheses around the numbers, because you're going to see a lot today that they're just going to jump into a number substituted in for a letter, and then they're going to have an exponent up there. Okay, and then once we put all these numbers in with parentheses, we want to follow order of operation. To do all the math until no math can be done. Okay, so we'll start off with some kind of very basic ones for what we'd call basics, but in algebra they're assuming that you know order of operation now, and so we got 3 letters here, and over here they tell us what those 3 letters are. So again, if I see an A and they say it's 2, for a little while until you get comfortable, let's keep putting them in parentheses. Okay, I see a B squared right there, so I want to put a 4 in parentheses with a 2 up there, plus sign, and then I see a C, and I want to put 7. Now we got to go through do order of operation. Do I have any parentheses? Yeah, I have parentheses, but no work needs to be done inside the parentheses. So that's my parentheses. Exponents? Yep, I got an exponent right there. So keep them in parentheses for right now until you get kind of comfortable. This guy's all by himself, so I'm going to drop that parenthesis. Okay? Because there's no more work to do. But over here, I kept the parentheses because that 2 parentheses is touching the 4 parentheses. And so that means multiplication still. And so that's my next step, is to go through and do multiplication and division next, which I got multiplication right there. And so 16 times 2 is 32 plus 7. And now let's just finish 32 plus 7. Okay? So encourage you to put those parentheses around these numbers, because this is the one that usually kids mess up on. Something like this that says minus 2 squared minus 4 times minus 2. This is where kids usually mess up, because they want to do 3 times negative 2 first and then square it. And that's not how order of operation goes. It says do exponents. Now here's the other problem. Do this negative 2 squared on your calculator right now, please. On a lot of calculators, if you don't put parentheses, negative 2 parentheses squared, it'll say it's negative 4. It's not negative 4, because I know negative 2 times negative 2, and negative times a positive has to be a positive 4, because negative times negative is positive. Your calculator is going to give you the wrong answer. So, two things here. If you're going to just use the calculator because they have some weird number like minus 3, let's say, squared, or maybe they have minus 5 squared and you don't know what that is. I do know a negative times a negative is a positive, okay? So you should predict your answer. It's got to be a positive something when I'm squaring a number, okay? So if you want to use your calculator, you have to put parentheses around it. Otherwise, on this problem here, your calculator is going to do this. It's doing order of operation. It says that 2 only goes to the 3. But on our problem, they said, put a negative 3 in there and square it, okay? So this is usually where kids boo-boo, right here. I know negative 2 times negative 2 is a positive 4. So I'm going to keep that parenthesis and keep that guy in a parenthesis. Now, I'm going to jump down here because multiplication and division is going to be my next step after I do exponents. So I'm going to multiply this guy. I got a negative 4 times a negative 2, which is a positive 8. So I'm kind of doing a little bit of order of operation in order, but I'm kind of cheating a little bit and working ahead a little, okay? So now I'm still on multiplication and division step. I just snuck down here and did this problem. Okay, I still got multiplication right here, which 3 times 4 is 12. So now I got 12 plus 8, and that equals 20. Okay? So a lot of times what I'll do is I'll say try it. This is a little early for you try it here, but I got some later on as we're going through the lesson. I think we need a little bit more practice here of going through some problems together here. And then I'll say, hey, you know what? Try it. And then I'll kind of scroll down and show you my work with the answers and see how you did, okay? All right, I think we need a little bit more practice before we try it. So they said wherever you see an 8, let's put a 3. So I want to put a 3 in parentheses. I want to square that. I want to put in parentheses minus 4, parentheses, minus, and again, here's my minus 4 squared. That's going to be wrong on the calculator if you just put minus 4 squared. You got to put the parentheses, okay? So very important that you pay attention to that. So I'm going to go do my exponents. I got exponents there and exponents there. I know 3 times 3 is 9. I want to keep that minus 4 in parentheses because that 9 is touching it, so that means multiplication. I want to bring down my minus sign. And now I'm going to square 4. I know negative 4 times negative 4 is a positive 16. It's a negative 4 times a negative 4. Negative times negative is a positive. And 4 times 4 is 16, so I want to just put my 16 there. Now again, some kids do this. They'll say it's a plus 16. Well, if it's a positive 16 and I have this minus sign, minus plus 16 just sounds kind of weird. We're just going to assume it's 16, but we brought that negative sign down, so we're going to just get rid of that plus sign right there, not the 1. It's a positive 16, and so I'm just going to put that 16 right there. If there's no sign, we assume it's a positive, okay? But we brought that negative sign down. Now, let's go do the 9 times negative 4 right here. 9 times negative, a positive times a negative, and you guys need to get in that habit of knowing that rule. Positive times negative is a negative, and 9 times 4 is 36. Bring down my minus sign, bring down my 16, okay? And now let's go for our final answer. I got minus 36 and minus 16, which my calculator is saying negative 52. We'll see if we did it right on the next page here. I got the answers. Here's my a squared. I got 4 squared. Put it in parentheses. There's my b. to minus 7 minus, it's in the formula here, and I'll put minus 7 squared. Let's go do order of operation. Let's go do our parentheses. Sorry, before we do parentheses, well, we don't have any work inside parentheses. I want to do my exponents. I got 2 of them. 4 times 4. Bring down that minus 7 and keep them in parentheses. I want to bring down that minus sign, and now I got negative 7 times negative 7. Again, I know negative times a negative is a positive, which I only have 2 of them that I'm multiplying. Negative times negative is positive, and 7 times 7 is 49. So again, instead of putting a plus 49 there, I'm just going to put a 49 there. I brought that negative sign down. Alright, let's go to the next one. Multiplication, division. I got multiplication right there. Boy, I'm going to need my calculator on this guy. Let's see. 16 times negative 7. I'm getting negative 112 minus 49. Just brought that guy down. And now I got a negative 161. Now sometimes when kids are watching the video, they know, and they're not even listening to my voice, they're just kind of going through and writing everything down because they just want the homework to be done. You really need to do all these numbers on the calculator, even though I'm telling you what these answers are. Every once in a while I'll make a mistake on my video, and that happens sometimes, just like you make mistakes. But you really should be practicing punching these numbers in, because when you do that, you're teaching your brain, kind of training your brain, an order here that you need to do things in. Okay? So just don't copy notes down from somebody else if you're absent. And I'm assuming you're absent since you're watching this video here. Alright, what did we have there? A minus 52 and a minus 161. Hey, look, I did it earlier today, and that's exactly what I got. So if you do order of operation, we all should come up with the same answer. Ooh, I see one over there with fractions. These kind of throw kids for a loop sometimes. So let's go do this one over here. And then I'll let you, well, I want to do both of these, because I see this negative sign out in front. And then I promise, I'll let you do it on your own. You're probably already knowing how to do most of these. I'm going to give that minus sign right there. And then here's my y. I want to put them in parentheses, squared. Minus, there's a 3, x is a negative 4, and my y is a 2. Alright, so now let's go do our exponents. There's no work in parentheses to be done, but I have exponents right there. Now, very important, that negative sign is outside of that bracket. Okay, that's why it's good to put those parentheses there. If you didn't put the parentheses, you would have something like this. And you would probably put that in your calculator, and you'd think, hey, you know what, that 2 goes to everything. No, that square only goes to the 2 right there. So in this case, it's going to be a negative 4, because 2 times 2 is 4. Now, we can kind of cheat a little bit, because we did exponents, and we know multiplication and division is going to be my next problem. So sometimes kids that aren't real comfortable, they're going to do multiplication and division, and they're going to go from left to right. And so if you want to be real meticulous, you could do this. You could do negative 3 times negative 4. Negative times negative is a positive, and say 12, and just bring that 2 down. I still got multiplication right here, and so I got 12 times 2 is 24. It's a positive. I'm going to bring the plus sign and a minus sign down. And now I'm on my last step of addition subtraction, and negative 4 plus 20 is, or 24 is just 20. Now, again, as you get more comfortable with math, I'm going to go back up here and do this real quick where we were. As you get more comfortable with math and order of operation, we can speed things up a little bit, but you got to know the rules. Okay, let me just get this copied down here so we see our numbers correctly here. There we go. Now, we already said this is going to be a negative 4. Now, when I see a number touching a number touching a number, that means multiplication. And so we learned in PEMDAS, you do multiplication from left to right. And so you could put this whole thing and do it all at one time, because it's a multiplication touching a multiplication. So you could speed things up by saying, hey, you know what? Negative 3 times negative 4 is a positive 12, and 12 times 2 is a positive 24. This happens after you get more comfortable with math. If you're not real comfortable, well then just do step by step like this. Okay? And look, I'm at that same step there, but I did cut out one whole step, okay? And negative 4 plus 24 is positive 20, just like we had over there, okay? All right, this guy's got an exponent here with a negative sign out in front, so I'm going to put my minus sign, and we also got a fraction here. Fisher hates fractions. You're going to hear me say that often. I hated them when I was in school because we didn't have a calculator. We had to do all the hard work. Now here's my fraction, negative 5/6. I'm going to put it in parentheses. And then my y is a negative 12. Alright, so let's go do our exponents. Oops, I forgot my exponent right there. Alright, so we got to do exponents first. Negative times a negative. I got two of these negative 12. So negative 12 times negative 12. Negative times negative is a positive. And 12 times 12 is 144. But I want to bring that negative sign down, and then I'm going to put my 144. Now, I'm going to do it both ways over here. We're going to do one step at a time here first. So I want to do negative 3 times negative 5/6. Negative times negative is a positive something. Okay? And I want to do that on my calculator here real quick. And this calculator's not working. There we go. I want to get another calculator, so bear with me here. I got negative 3 times negative 5/6. Now on your calculator, if you have a black one, you have to hit negative and then 5 and then hit that ABC button up there, fraction. So I'll help kids that are in class in 6. So if you don't know how to put fractions in, I'm getting 2.5. So I'm going to keep it in parentheses here, and I want to bring down that minus 12. I can drop those. Well, let's just keep it there because it's a multiplication problem. Okay, so now I still already have that minus 2.5 in the calculator right now. So my next step is to do multiplication here because I go from left to right when I'm multiplying in my math problem. Work from left to right. So I already got this in my calculator. So I'm going to hit times and make sure you times and use a negative 12. And I got a negative 30. Sometimes kids will say negative 2.5 times and they'll use a minus sign, and that's not going to work. I think you get something like a syntax error on most calculators. Okay, so you got to use the negative sign right there when you say 2.5 times negative 12. Now there's my last part of the problem. I got a negative 144 and a negative 30. I know I'm going to have a bunch of negatives. I got some negatives, I got some more negatives, and now I'm going to have a bunch of negatives. That guy was already in my calculator, so now I'm going to say minus 30. And I get a minus 174. Now, just bear with me here for a minute because I want to go up here and do this shortcut. But I'm going to start right here. We already know this guy's a negative 144. Whoops. It's kind of sloppy there, but that's a negative 144. Now, again, I got multiplication times multiplication times multiplication. So I want to do all three of these terms in one time. So I want to clear out my calculator, and I'm going to put in negative 3 times negative 5/6. So I want to hit negative button, 5, fraction 6, and then times negative 12. And I get the same thing, minus 30, just like I had here, but I just did all three of these at the same time to get this, okay? So as you get more used to kind of order of operations and more comfortable, you can kind of do that. Now I already got the minus 30 in it, so what I'm going to do is I want to say, hey, this is a minus 30, and I want to add this minus 144 there. So I want to hit plus negative 144, and that's a negative 174, just like we had before. Okay, box your answers, because again, I have a ton of papers I'm grading every night, because I got all those Algebra 2 kids as well. So you can help me out in keeping up grading and telling you if you're doing these problems correct or not. Alright, so now this is where in the video you need to kind of pause your answer for a bit. Let's see if we got the same answers. Yep, we sure did. Okay, so now give these guys a shot. No, we haven't done a fraction one yet. Boy, oh boy, I don't know. They want me to, how did you do? Let's do one of these fraction ones, and then I think you'll be okay. I'm going to do this a to the second power, so I'm going to put a 3, and I'm going to put it in parentheses, plus 4 to the second power. Putting these numbers in parentheses, especially when we have exponent buttons, again, is really kind of helpful for a lot of kids. Down on the bottom, I have 3. You can put that in parentheses, minus 4. Okay. Now, when I have a fraction like this, we need to do order of operation on the top and order of operation on the bottom. So sometimes what we'll do is I'll put an equal sign here and I'll do my work up on this top part. Because I know 3 squared is 9. I know 4 squared is 16. So I'll kind of do my work up a little bit if it's only a couple steps. And now I'll do 9 plus 16. Let's see, what is that, 25 I believe? And I'll put the 25 over here because I did my exponents here and got this, and so then I'll put that over here. This guy just says 3 take away 4. Well, I got more negatives than I have positives, so I know it's got to be a negative, and 3 minus 4 would be a negative 1. Now, you can't leave it that way. 25 divided by negative 1. Positive divided by negative is a negative, and 25 divided by 1 is 25. And so this is the only time that in algebra I'll kind of work up, work down, and work to the right at the same time. So it's kind of a little bit crazy, but focus on order of operation on your numerator. Do all that work, get it over here. Focus on all the work on your denominator, then move it over here. And then our last step is reducing. You give it a shot on number 8 real quick. Pause your video, do number 8, and then start your video again, and I'll show you the answer for number 8. Alright, let's see how you did on number 8. I got 17. Good. I hope you did too. Oh, land sakes. Look at these next ones here. Now, these are more along like what we normally do now in algebra in 9th grade. We got exponents, we got parentheses, we got number touching parentheses, and we have our first cubic here. So let's do this one together, and I'll let you do this one over here on your own and see how it goes. So here we go. I'm going to put 2 in parentheses squared, minus 2. They said my x is a 2. Now this is kind of crazy because I have a minus. I'm going to put minus 2 in parentheses. That's that guy. So I'm going to close my parentheses. That's that guy right there. Minus, here's my z. And I want cubic on that one, an exponent of a 3. Okay, so let's talk about this. I don't know. Let's do this guy first. Let's do our, nope, back up. We got parentheses over here. Get that guy back there where it was. So before I do my exponents, I need to do these parentheses. Now when I have a minus minus inside of parentheses, that's really like a negative 1 times a negative 2. Or in 7th grade, a lot of times teachers will teach, hey, anytime you see a minus minus, you circle it and put a plus. I like that. Minus minus, you put a plus. And I know 2 plus 2 is 4. So I want to put that 4 down here, and I want to bring everything straight down. And for a while here, until you really get comfortable in learning order of operation, let's just do small steps at a time. Now I'm going to do my exponents. I have a 2 squared right here. I know that guy's 4. I want to bring this down 2, and I'm going to put a 4 in brackets still. My minus sign now. This is the guy that some kids don't know how to do this. Well, first of all, that says negative 3 to the 3rd power, so that's really negative 3 times negative 3 times negative 3. Negative times negative is a positive, and a positive times a negative is a negative, so I know this answer has to be a negative something. Okay? I know 3 times 3 is 9, and 9 times 3 is 27. Now, let's talk about your calculator. On your calculator, what you have to do is you have to put it in parentheses, and a lot of people, like on my calculator, I have a button like this that says it's a little arrow up, and so what I would do is I'd put parentheses, negative 3, close my parentheses, and then an up. In my calculator window, it'll have something like this. It'll say minus 3, parentheses, and now there's a little box up here that says, well, what do you want your exponent to be? And I want it to be a 3, and so I'm going to type a 3, and then I'm going to hit enter. Okay? Now, if you have a black calculator, well, the black calculator has that button too, I just noticed. Okay, so it's over there on the left. It looks like this. It's right above the x squared button. It's kind of right there. Okay, so again, you have to put parenthesis, negative 3, close your parenthesis, hit that button, okay, and put in a 3. My calculator just shut off for some reason. So I'm going to try it here again. Close my parenthesis up, and you see a little caret on your little window there that says, well, what do you want your exponent to be? It's right there. So we say it's a 3 and hit enter, and I get negative 27. Now just for funny sake here, don't put parentheses there. Just try your calculator. Negative 3, hit that caret and hit 3, and look what you get. Negative 27. Well, in this case, it worked because that 3 is only going to that 3, and they just brought down the negative sign. So it's kind of dangerous, but your calculator's still doing order of operation. It's still doing this. 3 to the 3 times 3 is 27, and it just brought that negative sign over. But now, since we're working on this, let's try something like this. Let's do negative 3 squared without parentheses. Try that. I know it's got to be a positive, because negative 3 times negative 3 is positive, but let's show what your calculator will give the wrong answer here. Pretend there's no parentheses, you didn't put the parentheses in. Hit negative 3, caret button, and let's put in a 2. See how you get negative 9? It can't be negative 9 if I'm squaring that thing, but your calculator's doing what you're telling it to. It's if you don't put the parentheses, that 2 is only squaring the 3, not the negative sign. So very important that you put these brackets here, especially when you get exponents that are something other than a 2. Okay? All right, let's continue this one, and then I'll let you move on. So I did my parentheses, I did my exponents, now I need multiplication and division. I got multiplication right there, so negative 2 times 4 is a minus 8. I want to circle this minus minus because that's my plus, and I want to put plus 27 down here. Now, here's where you can speed it up too. Instead of just saying 4 minus 8 is a minus 4 and putting it there, and then plus 27, I have addition, subtraction is all I have left. And so at this point, work from left to right because order matters. You could put all this into your calculator. 4 minus 8 plus 27, and bam, 23 is your final answer. Okay? So this is what I mean about, as you get more comfortable with math and you know you're on the addition subtraction step, and that's all you have left. So instead of just doing two terms here, 4 minus 8 is minus 4, bring down your plus 27, and then minus 4 plus 27, just bam, take all three of them and be done. Okay? All right, you got parentheses right here, so that's going to be our first step after we plug all these guys in. Then we're going to do exponents. All right, so pause your video and let's see how you do on this one. All right, welcome back. You're a rock star if you get this number 10. Did you get 24? Fantastic. Good deal. All right, if not, just kind of look at my work and see where perhaps you went wrong. I did my parentheses there and I got negative 7 because minus 3 minus 4 is a minus 7. I got negative 2 times negative 7. That was my next step, which is 14. Just brought that 9 down. There's my minus minus, so I put plus 1. And now I got 23 plus 1. Again, I could have just said right in my calculator because I want to speed my math homework up. 9 plus 14 plus 1, and boom, got 24. All right, I see an absolute value. We're almost done here. Let's do this one, and I'll let you do this one over here. So let's do a squared. So there's a minus right there. Don't forget that guy. I want to put minus 2 in parentheses, squared. There's a minus 2, parentheses, 3. Close my parentheses. My c is a minus 3. Put him in parentheses, minus absolute value. And my minus 3 is in there. Now you remember absolute value? We already talked about that. Absolute value means how far from 0. Let's go do I don't see any parentheses work to do, but I do see exponents right here. So I'm going to do this guy first. That guy comes straight down. Negative 2 times negative 2 is a positive 4. Now again, I'm not going to put minus and a plus 4 here, because if I have nothing, I assume it's a positive 4. Come straight down. Now, I think you're getting pretty good at this. I know multiplication and division is going to be my next job after exponents. So I'm going to multiply all three of these guys since they're touching each other from left to right. Negative 2 times 3. Negative times positive is a negative. That's negative 6. And in my head, I'm thinking now, or on my calculator, I'm going to say negative 6 times minus 3. Negative times negative is back to positive, and 6 times 3 is 18. So I want to do all of that right now in one big sweep, because I know multiplication is going to be my next step after exponents. So this is what I'm talking about, that as you get more comfortable with math, you can kind of, instead of keep doing one step at a time, we can kind of speed some things up. Now I'm going to bring that minus sign down. I want to get rid of this guy next. How far is negative 3 from 0? It's 3, so that guy goes there. The minus sign that's in front of it came straight down from right there. Now, I want to grab my calculator, because I don't even want to do mental math. Some kids are really good at mental math. Negative 4 plus 18 minus 3 is what I'm going to put into my calculator, and then I'll be all done. And I'm getting 11. And I'm done. Okay? Alright, last one. You try number 12. Let's see if you can get that one. Don't forget, absolute value means how far from 0. Okay? That negative sign comes straight down, and when you put that negative 3 for the a in there, put it in parentheses, because that 2 only goes to that negative 3. Okay. Alright, did you get 9? Perfect. Alright, you can check out my work there if you didn't get 9. Okay. Alright, with that, I think you have practice 5 to do today, and use your notes. Okay. On this guy here, when I have an absolute value and I put the m as a negative 7 and a minus 2 there, we have to do kind of absolute, the work inside the absolute values first, and then take the absolute value of that math that you did to get in there. Okay. And I think there was one that previous year's kids missed, if I don't. Yep, there it is, number 10. There you go. It has an absolute value, so, and an exponent. So let's go do number 10 together, and then I'll set you free. Let's put this guy down. I got 3 absolute value, 3 plus negative 5 absolute value. And look, I have an exponent of my absolute value. Now, a number, our letter time, a letter touching a letter inside of parentheses is like parentheses inside of parentheses. Watch this. I want to say 3 times negative 5. And then I want to close my parenthesis. That guy's right there. And that guy's right there. And then I need to square it. Boy, my work is looking pretty sloppy here. So I want to do some work inside of my absolute value in parentheses right first here. I got 3 plus a negative 5. I got more negatives than positives, so I know that's a minus 2. I want to keep my absolute value. I want to keep my 2. And I want to keep my 3 right here. Minus, now I want to do my work inside of here. 3 times negative 5 is a minus 15. Keep my parentheses and put my square there. Now, this is kind of interesting because I have a square of an absolute value. I have to do my work inside. You don't have an absolute value on your calculator. You got to do this in your head. So how far is negative 2 from 0? It's 2. Okay. But I still have the square there, and I want to put now parentheses around this guy and a 3 there. Now some kids can do this all in one step. The absolute value of negative 2 is 2, and 2 squared is 4. So sometimes you can do this whole step right here and just put a 4 down there. Now I still got this 3 out front here. I still got my minus sign there. Now I'm going to come down and do this. Again, it's squared. I know negative times negative is a positive, so this guy answers, this term is going to be a positive something, and I have no idea what 15 squared is. So let's do that. Now again, if you're going to use the parentheses and the negative sign, that would be fine, but I already know this is positive answer. So on my calculator, I'm just going to do 15 squared because I know it's got to be positive. And I'm getting 225. And I want to finish it off here. 3 times 4 would be my next step. So now I got 12 minus 225. And I want to put that baby in my calculator. 12 minus 225. I'm getting a negative 213. I'm gonna put it over here because I ran out of room. Alright, so there's some pretty crazy problems towards the end here. But really, these are the types of problems we would expect you to be able to do in ninth grade, okay? So if you're struggling this, I have after school help. This year I have it on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. But your teacher or myself should be able to tell you when those tutoring times are. This is very important that you're able to do this and be very fluent and quick with this and get all that work and get the right answer. There's only one answer for this math problem. All right, good luck on the other 11, and let's see how you do. Have a good day.